So since I was buying cauliflower this week to redo our cauliflower wrap videos for Allison's channel, I figured we'd give the cauliflower pizza crust a shot. I've done this a couple of times using a different recipe, but this one calls for goat cheese, which is new to me. So let's give it a go. We're gonna start by steaming our cauliflower. I've got 1.5 here. It's about 2 pounds once I get the leaves off, and we'll get that into the steamer. So I've got my 2 pounds of cauliflower sectioned, including the stems, and we're gonna dump this into our steamer basket. So in my pot, I've got some water and salt, and it's already at a boil, and we're gonna steam this for between 5 and 7 minutes, depending on how long it takes to cook these stems. All right, so here's our cauliflower out of the steamer, and it's just starting to cool down enough to handle it. And rather than using the grater, I'm going to use a ricer. This is something that I've had kicking around in my pantry for quite a while. You guys may or may not have seen one before. It's a press with holes in the bottom, and we're going to try using this rather than the grater and see if it makes a little bit less mess. So there's 2 pounds of cauliflower riced, and it's currently dripping, and I'm about to wring it out in my tea towel. It is absolutely possible to use a ricer. This is a 2-piece one where the dye comes out separately, so it's a little easier to clean. It also has a smaller one. What I've noticed is that the outer skin of the cauliflower did not press through this. So the most fibrous parts didn't go through. That's both good and bad. Good because we're probably going to get a little bit of a nicer texture, but at the same time, we're missing a lot of the fiber. So I will say, do not use a ricer. Absolutely go with the method that I've used in the past, using either a food processor or a hand grater to grate this prior to steaming. And then use a steamer basket like I usually do to steam your cauliflower. All right, so there's our cauliflower. It's quite dry now that it's been squeezed through my tea towel. And we're gonna add in our egg and our goat cheese and a pinch of salt. Mix this up by hand, and then we're gonna flatten it out on a baking sheet. So just to give you an idea of the type of texture we're dealing with here, it's still quite dry, but it is holding together. You can definitely form it into a ball, and it'll hold its shape. So that's kind of the texture that you're looking for. We're gonna now put this out on a lined baking sheet. I've got some pre-cut parchment paper, and we're gonna flatten this out. Okay, and here we are flattened out on a baking sheet. I use my trick where I use a spare sheet of parchment paper and another baking sheet and lay it down on top like this, and then flatten it with my hand, and that gets you a nice uniform thickness. And we're about 1/4 inch thick all the way around. So I'm going to stick this into the oven now for somewhere between 30 and 40 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit without convection. This is about 30 minutes after the fact. I ended up turning convection on at the end just to move things along because I've got a bunch of other pizzas I need to get into the oven. But you can see it's just started to go brown on the edges and on the top, and the bottom is nice and brown as well. So I'm going to let this cool for a minute, and then we're going to dress it up. But I'm going to throw it back into the oven without the pan, and then we'll toast up the cheese and the toppings. So we're going to throw this in there for about 5 minutes at 425, and we'll brown off our toppings. So here it's pulled out of the oven after about 5 minutes. I turned on the broiler just at the end. I don't want the bottom to get any dark, and you can see it's definitely getting darker around the edges. So we're going to let this cool and slice it up. So what do you think, Riley? Is this good pizza?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can taste the goat cheese a little bit, and you can see this corner piece here. It holds up fairly well. Really curious to see how it reheats, but we're gonna finish our dinner. So hope you guys enjoy.